Okay, good morning, everybody. Here are the directions one more time for today's asynchronous assignment. So you are creating an annotated map of New Mexico. If you were in class on yesterday, I went through this with you all, but here's a reminder of those directions. So basically, for this assignment, we're applying what we learned from chapter 1 of our notes to demonstrate that learning through the creation of an annotated map of New Mexico. So this is on page 10 of your interactive notebook, this directions sheet. And the first thing you're going to do is follow this checklist. So the first step that I have for you here is to review your notes and identify 10 facts that you want to illustrate on your map. I suggest that you highlight or underline or star those facts as you identify them so you can keep track of the facts that you're using. Okay, so it's easier for you to keep track of what you have used or what information you could still incorporate. To check off this checklist, if you right-click on the bullet there, yours was probably a box, and if you right-click, it gives you the option to change it to a check mark. So that's how I did that there. Once you've identified your facts, you're going to start creating your map. So somewhere on your map, you're going to add images to illustrate each of the 10 important facts that you identified. Then you are going to add an annotation to each of your illustrations. An annotation is a note explaining something, and it should be a complete sentence or two in length. Down below these directions is just another checklist for you to make sure that you've completed the required components before turning in. So my suggestion is to check these off once you think you're done to ensure that you have finished the assignment. So, page 11 of your interactive notebook is where you will find the template for your map. I'm going to zoom out here so we can see the whole thing. And I'm going to go ahead and redo what we did in class together. So the first thing that we did is I referred to my notes. And I looked through these notes to identify a fact that I thought was important for my map, to include in my map. So what we started with in class was the rivers. We talked about how the rivers were mentioned a lot in our notes, and so the 5 main rivers are probably an important fact to include in our notes. So I definitely want to include this fact here, so I'm going to make note of that for myself. Since I can't really underline this map, I'm going to put a star here. So if I click Insert and go to my Shapes tab, or shape icon here, scroll down. The third option down, the callouts, is there's a star. So here's a star. As I select it, I can draw a star just to make note that I do want to use this fact. This is something I want to put within my map. So if I want, I can change the color. It's not really necessary, but if you want it to stand out, you can always change the color. But here we go. I'm just marking this is an important piece of information that I want to include in my map. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, since I'm not doing all 10 annotations for you, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we now can draw that on a map of my own. So there's a couple of things we talked about you can do in class. So if you are choosing to do this digitally, that's what I'm showing you here. If you prefer to do everything by hand, you can draw your map by hand on just a piece of paper and take a picture of it to insert in your notebook, that's fine. But I am showing you some of digital tools that you can use. Okay, so if you click on the line tool and you go to the bottom, you'll be able to get the scribble. And the scribble is going to allow you to draw a river. So if I hold with my scribble, there we go. So there's my scribble. Once I let go of the mouse, it's highlighted or selected. This allows me to change my line color. So if I click on this icon up here, I can change from a black line to a blue line to signify the river. Next to the line color is the line weight. This allows me to change how thick the line that I just scribbled was. The higher the number, the thicker it's going to get. So I've been using 8, and if I click away, there's my river. Okay, so we used the scribble tool in class. Today we practiced the scribble tool to draw our rivers. Again, I'm just holding the mouse down. Sometimes it disappears and I can't figure out why. So I'm going to go ahead and use 2 hands, one to hold and one to draw. And there we go. Change the color. Okay, and I want to change the weight of the line. There we go. Okay, the other option that I gave you all was to insert just an image of the river. So if you go to insert image, you can search the web, and over here on the side, I can maybe search a specific river if I want to. I know I need the Pecos River down here. If I choose an image, such as this one, and insert, it appears on my map. I really want to focus on the river, so if I double click on this image, it's going to give me a black border around the picture, and that means that I've enabled the cropping tool. So now I can drag this black border at these points here. I really want to just focus on the river, so I'm going to reshape this, and what I'm actually doing is cutting the image, so I'm focusing just on the river. And then when I click away off to the side, it's trimmed my picture for me. And I can resize it because I don't need it that large, because I need to fit 10 images on this map with 10 annotations. So I've trimmed, I resized. I'm going to use this circle here to rotate, because I know the Pecos River is kind of like this on the map. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put it here, close to where it would actually be on the map. So one other option that another student in the class suggested, and this is something you can do, it's a tool or a strategy you can use. They copied my map from the notes. So if you select my image from the notes, you can either hit Control-C to copy this image, or you can right-click. On the Chromebook, you use 2 fingers to right-click and then copy. And if you click back on your map page, you can do Control-V to paste, or you can right-click and you can paste. And then you could start with, instead of the blank template, if you chose to, you can resize this and you can start with the maps here. So it's up to you. That was just another strategy that another student in the classroom suggested. so I wanted to share that with you all. So in class, we went ahead and I gave you time to insert your rivers. So you either finished with the scribble or you pasted my river map from the notes, or you just found images from Google. Once you had your rivers, we then have to do our annotations. And I'm just going to go ahead and add real quickly the other rivers. Well, I say quickly, but then that deleted. That way you all can see the example that we did in class. So I'm finding with the scribble tool that I have to use two hands. So one hand to hold the mouse down and one hand to draw. And then when I let go of both hands, it seems to stick better. So there we go. It's the Gila River. And then we have the Canadian River. That goes like this way somewhere. Oops, again, two hands. So again, if you're getting frustrated with technology or it's not working for you, you can always hand draw, or you can use one of the other options. Okay, so there's some rivers. I'm going to grab a text box now to do my annotation. So there's my selector tool, then the text box is next to that. So I'm going to click the text box and make a box over here. I can always move it around and resize it, but now I need to type in my note. So remember, the annotation needs to be a complete sentence, and I suggest that you number them. So number 1 is going to, here's my sentence for number 1. New Mexico has 5 main rivers, period. They are the San Juan, Gila, Rio Grande, Pecos, and Canadian. And a period at the end to make sure it's a complete sentence. From here, you can change the font. So if you want to make it bolder, you can choose a bolder font. If you want to resize it, so say I want to make it smaller because I know that I have to fit 10 annotations on my map, I can make it smaller. I can reshape my text box. If you want to make the text stand out more, you can select the text and then you can use this highlighting tool to highlight the text. So these are just some of the options available to you. So here's my first annotation. Okay, then we have to find 10 total. So on to number 2. If I look in the notes and I go to page 2 of our notes, the other fact that we pulled out in class is about the Plains province. So the Plains province, and I'm going to highlight this to know that I'm including it in our notes. The Plains province is flat and treeless. And it is the eastern third of our state. So I'm highlighting that text. Oops, I didn't highlight. I changed my box. There's the highlight tool. So the highlight tool is next to the bold, italicized, underline. I was clicking the wrong button. There we go. Flat and treeless, it's the eastern third of the state, is the Plains province. So I'm going to turn that into an annotation, and I'm going to include it where the Plains province is. So the Plains province is in the east here, so that's where I'm going to put my annotation. So the first thing I did in class was I chose my scribble again, And I decided to section off the state, the Plains province. So I used my scribble, just going to go over that picture, to demonstrate where the Plains province is. And once I let go, it's selected. I'm going to change the color to this maroon just to show that it's a border. I don't want people to be confused and think it's another river. Okay, so here we go. There's a border for the Plains province. I'm going to insert a text box and I'm going to start with my annotation. So I need to turn that into 1 or 2 complete sentences. I'm going to number it, so number 2, and then write my sentence. The Plains province is in the eastern third of New Mexico. It is made up of flat and treeless land. Okay, something else I wanted to show you, and I'm going to zoom in to show you this. If you misspell something, so like I was typing too fast or I just made a spelling error, my text is going to be underlined in red. So please correct your spelling errors if you make these errors. So if you right-click on the word, and remember with the Chromebook, that's 2 fingers, click with 2 fingers, a menu will appear, and at the top of that menu, it will give you the option to correct your spelling. So it's asking me, did you mean to say province here? Yes, I did. So I click on that word and it corrects my spelling. So I just wanted to remind you all to use these tools to help you. I'm going to then highlight, trying to get my text to match the other. So bold, and I'm going to shrink my text because I know I need to add, oh, that's too small, because I know I need to fit 10 annotations, so I don't need it that large. Okay, oh, and I guess I should highlight it since I highlighted the other one, but maybe I want to make it a different color, so I want to do blue. Okay, there's my second annotation. And even though I drew the border here, I think it's would be best to add an actual picture. So I'm going to search. I'll show you a couple of things that we did in class. So if we insert image from the web, in class I put in Plains and I put New Mexico and I looked for some flat land. I think I can work with this picture here because it looks flat and treeless. Insert. Now let me zoom back out so I can see the whole thing. And again, I'm going to double click so I can cut because I don't need this whole picture. I need the part that's flat. So I'm going to cut off to demonstrate where the flat treeless land is. I don't need the whole sky. Okay, so again, I can make it smaller. So I think I can work with that. Flat treeless land. Now I can shrink it down because again, I have to fit 10 pictures and annotations. So here's my image. So that's one option. The other thing we did in class is we inserted from the web. You can like make your own pictures too, or combine pictures to get your point across. So the other thing I did in class was search tree clip art. So if you add the word clip art to the end of your search, you are going to get cartoon like pictures. So if I find the tree and I insert the tree, here it is, nice, like too big, way too big, so I'm going to shrink it. And even smaller, I'm going to move that over to the Plains province. Okay, I can put it on top of my picture if I want to, or I could have done it instead of this picture. I'm going to grab a line, just a regular straight line, and I am going to cross this tree out to demonstrate the plains are treeless. And I'm going to make it red to make it stand out and change the font. So there you go. That's another option. So when I zoom back in to my normal size, 100%, here is that annotation. So I have 2 annotations done and examples of pictures with each of them. So that's a review of the tools that I showed you in class. Remember, you can do this by hand if you choose. If you do it by hand, once you're done with your map, you're going to insert image. You can upload an image that you've sent to your computer and save to your computer. You can choose the camera and you can take a picture from your Chromebook. That's the other thing that you can do. All right. You have today to work on this and you have Friday to work on this. So take your time and put your best effort into this. Thank you.